Welcome to Yoga Practice with Sam. Today we're going to be going over a short hip sequence that can be done at any time of day. So let's get started. And we will start out laying down. And we can either keep the knees bent or extend the legs a little wider than hip distance apart, feet flopped out to the sides. We can rest the hands somewhere on the belly or the chest, or to either side of our body with our palms facing the ceiling. So wherever we are, let's just take a moment to notice how our body feels. Taking a moment to allow our body to settle. And just taking a moment to notice how it feels to inhale and how it feels to exhale. Relaxing the eyes, nose, brow, and jaw. And then let's begin to bend the knees, if they're not already bent. And then we're going to draw both knees into the chest, place our hands behind our knees, gently rock all the way from one side to the other, massaging our spine and the backs of our hips. And coming to stillness, let's go ahead and place each hand behind our knee, and we're going to begin making circles with our legs. Just going through that range of motion gently with our hips. I'm going to keep the lower back pressed into our mat as we're doing this, and we're just warming up the hip joints. Remembering to breathe. And when we're ready, we'll switch directions with that. And then we'll go ahead and bring that to stillness. Lower the soles of our feet to our mat, and we're just going to go through a series of bridges. So let's make sure that our ankles are lined up underneath our knees, about hip width apart, hands to either side of our hips, palms facing down. It is very, very important in this pose that we continue to look up at the ceiling and we do not turn our head side to side. So let's get aligned. And with an inhale, we're going to lift the hips towards the sky for bridge. Pausing at the top for a moment. With our exhale, we're going to lower down to our mat, one vertebra at a time, feeling each one touch. On our inhale, let's lift the hips towards the sky. Pause at the top. On our exhale, lowering down to our mat, one vertebra at a time. And on our inhale, we're going to lift the hips towards the sky, pause at the top for a moment. So we were just warming up the quads, allowing the hip flexors a little bit of space to release. And on our next exhale, let's lower down to our mat, one vertebra at a time, feeling each one touch. When we've reached our mat, we're going to go ahead and draw both knees into our chest, gently rock all the way from one side to the other, massaging our spine and the backs of our hips. coming to stillness. Let's release our legs, and we're gonna roll onto one side, come up to an easy seated position. So if this easy seated position is uncomfortable for us, we can always take a block or a pillow or a towel, a blanket to sit on top of, just to elevate ourselves a little bit, to allow those knees to drop and allow ourselves to sit tall on our sits bones. And we're just going to take a moment here. Allow the shoulders to drop away from the ears. And we can continue to sit on that block or pillow or towel if we would like. We're just going to extend both legs. So we can point and flex the toes a couple times. Sit tall on our sits bones. We are going to bend the right knee. And we want to place the foot either on the inside or the outside. If we have the foot on the outside, we want to make sure the whole bottom of our foot is still touching the floor. We're going to wrap our opposite arm around our opposite leg. So in this case, left arm, right leg, we're going to squeeze that leg into us. So we should feel that stretch on the outside of that right leg and the right hip and right glute. Nice, long, tall spine extending through the crown of our head. We're going to inhale, elongate the spine. With our exhale, gently twist. Place this hand behind us or beside us. To make sure we're not leaning back onto our tailbone, that we're nice and tall on our sits bone. So even if that means we have to untwist a little bit, we're going to gently turn the head to look over that right shoulder. Hug the knee in towards our chest. And just taking some nice inhales and nice exhales. Exhale, let's go ahead and gently untwist. We'll help that foot onto the other side of the knee. Extend that leg. We're going to bend that left knee. And again, foot either on the inside of the knee or the outside of the knee. Make sure that front foot is flexed. We're going to hug that knee into our body. So opposite arm, opposite leg. In this case, right arm, left leg. We're going to squeeze that knee in towards our body. Front foot is still pointing towards the ceiling. Long, tall spine with our inhale. With our exhale, we're going to gently twist. So hands either beside us or behind us, and we're going to gently turn to look over that left shoulder. Hugging that knee in towards the body. Feeling that stretch through the outside of the left leg into the left hip and left glute. Full inhales, full exhales. Exhale, let's gently untwist. We'll help that foot onto the other side. Let's point and flex the toes a couple more times. And then we're going to go ahead and roll onto one hip, coming up to all fours. And we will just stack our joints, shoulders over the elbows, over the wrists. We're going to spread out the fingertips as wide as we can, keep a little bit of a bend in the elbows, and wrap them around towards our body. Hips over top of the knees. On our inhale, let's lift the crown of our head, lift our tailbone for cow. tucking our tailbone, tucking our chin for cat. Inhaling to cow, elongating our spine. And exhaling to cat, engaging our core muscles. Let's continue with our own breath. Inhale, let's come back to a neutral spine. With our exhale, big toes touching behind us, angling out the knees, sinking the glutes back towards the heels, fully extending our arms and resting our forehead on our mat for child's pose. Remember that we can return to this pose at any time during our practice. We feel as though we need to rest. And we want to guide our breath all the way down to our tailbone, expanding the rib cage towards the back and both sides. Inhale, let's take a look at our hands. Make sure they're shoulder width apart, fingertips spread out as wide as we can spread them. We're going to tuck the toes under the feet. With our exhale, let's lift, press back, downward facing dog. Chest is sinking back towards the legs, heels towards the earth. Tailbone's actively reaching towards the ceiling. Inhale, we're just going to begin to walk the feet up to the hands until we meet our hands and we are in our forward fold. Just allowing the head and neck to relax, allowing the spine to decompress, and breathing into any tension in the hamstrings. So we can always rest our hands on our legs, on the floor. We can hold onto our elbows, whatever is best for us today. On our next inhale, let's go ahead and reverse swan dive. And exhaling, mountain. So in mountain, we are going to stack our joints. Shoulders over the hips, hips over the knees, knees over the ankles, and then we will spread out our toes wide, lift the heels and lower them. Little bit of a bend in the knees. Tuck the tailbone by slightly engaging those lower abs. Knit the rib cage in. Bring the shoulders up, back, and down. Reach the crown of the head up towards the sky. Pause here and notice how our body feels and how this alignment feels. Next inhale, we can go ahead and gently open our eyes. And we're just going to move into tree, which is a balancing pose, but also uses the range of motion with our hips. So sometimes it is a little bit easier to not be on our mat and to just be on a solid floor. So we are going to start out with our right foot. We're going to shake out the ankle. And then we're going to go ahead and spread out the toes wide, lift the heel and lower it. So we find our 4 points, or our 4 corners of our foot. We are going to start with our kickstand. Tailbone is tucked, ribcage is knitted in, reaching up through the crown of the head. We can place our hands on our hips if we'd like. This knee is pressing towards the wall behind us. If we would like, we could draw the hands to heart center. So this might be enough for us here, and we can totally stay here. If we'd like, we could slide that foot up to the calf. And it helps to find a single visual point, something that's not moving those little muscles, those little balance muscles are working. We're gonna come to stillness on that left foot. Spread out the toes wide, lift the heel and lower it. Feel all four corners of the foot. Start off with our kickstand. Tailbone's tucked. I'm gonna make sure we're not sinking off to one side or the other with our hips. Rib cage is knitted in and we're reaching up through the crown of the head. We can place our hands on our hips if we'd like. From here, if we would like, we can go ahead and draw the hands to heart center. So this might be enough for us here. If we would like to move a little bit further, we can go ahead and slide that foot up to the calf. We want to make sure we're not on the knee because that puts a lot of pressure on that joint. And finding our visual focal point, if we haven't already. Remembering to breathe. Also remembering to be patient with our body. Everybody's different, every day is different, and balance depends upon the day and many factors in our life. On our next exhale, let's go ahead and release that. We'll shake out both ankles. And if we're not on our mat already, we can go ahead and move back onto our mat. We're going to come up to the top of our mat, into our mountain pose. Tailbone is tucked, rib cage is knitted in, shoulders releasing back and down, floating the crown of the head up towards the sky. On our next inhale, let's sweep our arms towards the sky. With our exhale, swan diving, forward fold. On our inhale, we're going to lift for monkey. Fingertips on the shins, flat back. We're reaching the crown of the head forward, tailbone back behind us. On our exhale, forward fold. On our inhale, let's step back with the right foot. Exhaling the left, down dog. On our inhale, let's lower our knees to our mat and exhaling into child's. On our inhale, let's walk the hands back towards the body, lifting the upper body. And we can sit off onto one hip, swing our feet around. And we are going to go into our seated straddle. So again, if we find that we're rolling back onto the tailbone, we can place a block or a pillow or a towel or a blanket underneath us to help elevate us and to be able to elongate through the spine. So, toes are pointed towards the ceiling, drawing back towards our body. We can stay here, or if we'd like a little bit deeper of a stretch, we can go ahead and begin to walk the hands forward. This is also a nice place for a block. So, we can place that block in front of us. We could walk the hands down to the block. We could rest the forearms on the block. We could also, if we would like, rest our forehead on a block at any level. It is whatever is best for us today. What we're going to make sure of is that our toes are still pointed towards the ceiling, drawing back towards our body, that they're not rolling inwards or pointing away from us. And I find it helpful to allow the upper body to slightly lift with my inhale and surrender and release a little more with an exhale. Relaxing the eyes, nose, brow, and jaw. Next inhale, let's walk the hands back towards the body. We're going to help the knees in. We can move that block. place the soles of our feet together. We want at least 1 foot length between our body and heels. We could have more than 1 foot length. So long, tall spine, extending through the crown of our head. We have a couple options here. We can stay here if this is enough for us. If we would like, we can go ahead and hinge at the hips, lead with the chest, and allow the elbows to gently guide the knees a little closer to the floor for butterfly. Or the other option is to place our hands to either side of the hips, fingertips facing the front. We're going to press down through the knees as we lift through the heart center. So all of those options are definitely worth exploring. That could change day to day, moment to moment. Wherever we are, being sure that we take full inhales and full exhales. Relaxing the eyes, nose, brow, and jaw. And just remember to be gentle and patient with our body. Next inhale, let's go ahead and come back to center. We'll use our hands to gently help our knees back up. We're going to get down to the mat. Let's extend one leg, hold behind the other knee. On our exhale, we're going to lower down to our mat, 1 vertebra at a time, feeling each one touch. When we've reached our mat, we're going to draw both knees into our chest and gently rock all the way from one side to the other, massaging our spine and the backs of our hips. And coming to stillness, let's lower the soles of our feet to our mat. We're going to go into our figure 4. So let's cross that right ankle across the left thigh. Press that right knee away from us. So we want to feel that stretch on the outside of that right leg to the right hip and right glute. We can stay here if this is enough for us. If we would like to get a deeper stretch, we can go ahead and lift that left leg, slide our hands behind that leg. If we would like, we could extend that left leg towards the sky. It is whatever is best for us today for our figure 4. And just pausing here for a moment, being sure that we're not engaging the abs, that we're not lifting. We want to relax the upper body. Allow the upper body to just sink into our mat. Next exhale, let's go ahead and release that, and we will go ahead and switch legs. So crossing that left ankle across the right thigh, left knee is pressing away from us. So we can stay here. If we'd like a deeper stretch, we can go ahead and lift that right leg, slide our hands behind that leg. Feeling that stretch on the outside of that left leg with the left hip and left glute. So this might be enough for us here, and we can stay here. Or we could extend that right leg towards the sky. It's whatever's best for us today. Remembering one side might be a little bit different than the other, and to just be patient with our body. let's go ahead and release that. And we'll move into bridge. So let's go ahead and line up our ankles underneath our knees, hip width apart. Hands to either side of our hips, palms facing down, continuing to look up at the ceiling. On our inhale, let's lift the hips towards the sky for bridge. Pause at the top for a moment. Allow the hip flexors to release. On our next exhale, let's go ahead and lower down to our mat. One vertebra at a time, feeling each one touch. When we've reached our mat, we're going to draw both knees into our chest, gently rock all the way from one side to the other. Massaging our spine and the backs of our hips. And coming to stillness. Let's go ahead and keep the knees drawn into the chest, extend the arms at shoulder level. So palms can face up or down here. On our next exhale, we're going to gently let the knees drop to the right as we turn our head to look left for a gentle spinal twist. Want to keep both shoulder blades on our mat. And if we would like, we could place that right hand on top of that left leg. We might feel a little bit of a stretch through the outside of that left leg and the left hip and left glute. And of course, we get that nice twist in the spine. Full inhales and full exhales. On our next inhale, let's go to draw the knees back to center. With our exhale, gently letting the knees drop to the left as we turn our head to look right. And we're going to keep both shoulder blades on our mat. We can also place that left hand on top of the right leg. We might feel a stretch through the outside of that right leg to the right hip and right glute. And we get that nice twist in the spine. Full inhales and full exhales. Next inhale, let's draw the knees back to center. Place our hands behind our knees. Gently rock all the way from one side to the other, massaging our spine and the backs of our hips. Coming to stillness, let's release our legs and just take a moment for relaxation. Just allow the body to settle back into the mat. We can keep the knees bent or extend the legs a little wider than hip distance apart, feet flopped out to the sides. Rest the hands to either side of our body, palms facing the ceiling. Gently closing our eyes. Let's take a moment to scan our body, noticing anywhere that we are holding tension. Guiding our breath to that area and allowing that tension to release with our exhale. relaxing our brow, relaxing our eyes, and releasing our jaw. Feeling each point in which our body is in contact with the earth, and allowing the earth to support us. Let's take a moment to allow our body to thank us. Thank us for challenging it today, and thank us for our patience and our kindness. Let's also thank our body for all it does for us. Thank every bone, every muscle, every organ, every cell of our body. Sending love and kindness through our whole body. Sending love and kindness to the places that are healing. Let's also send love and kindness out into the world. Send love and kindness to our family and friends. And let's send love and kindness to ourselves and thank ourselves for all we do in our day, all we do for others, and all we do for ourselves. When we are ready, with our eyes remaining closed, let's bend both knees, roll onto one side, moving into fetal position, cradling our head in our arm, and just allowing our mind and our body a moment of transition. When we are ready, with our eyes remaining closed, let's come up to an easy seated position, or whatever seated position is comfortable for us. Resting our hands to either side of our body, palms facing the ceiling. On our inhale, let's sweep our arms towards the sky, placing our palms together at the top. With our exhale, drawing our hands down to heart center. And at the end of our yoga practice, we say namaste. The spirit in me honors the spirit in you. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you can, like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.